Hello and welcome. Luke Malevich here again, ChicagoJazzTrombone.com. I wanted to take the time to talk about a topic that's been on my mind for many, many years and something that I don't really hear people talk about too often, and that's the various slide grips that trombone players use. I'm talking specifically about jazz trombone players because I do think that's very important, at least to me, kind of seeing physically how things are done. And I thought about this for it's been a long time, maybe at least 10 years, where I've kind of, whenever I'm watching somebody, just checking out how, how they're moving the slide, how they're holding the slide, and how it kind of relates to the lines that they play. And, no matter what we do, we're always going to sound like ourselves, but I think it's kind of important to, to see the physical aspect, because for me, as much as I hear the music that I want to play, a lot of it is physical as well. So, for example, if I'm trying to transcribe Carl Fontana solo or J.J. Johnson solo, Frank Russell, Jack Teagarden, Slide Hampton, whoever it might be, somebody once told me, and not one person, I've heard this from several different players, which is true for me, and it's true for anybody really. As you're trying to transcribe a solo, the goal is to not only get the notes, but you also to get the accents, to get the the flow, the spirit, the intensity, to get it, mimic it as much as possible, to really get into the mindset of the player that you're transcribing. And why not, use the same grip? That will make sense to me. If you're, again, let's say you're doing a Carl Fontana solo and you're holding your slide with a lot more tension or intensity, because you can hold your slide with more intensity than Carl does, and a lot of players do. But to play his lines, it makes more sense to hold it the way that he does. And I think it's kind of important to experiment, find out what works for you as a player, because everybody's going to be different. And as I'm looking at this sheet too of the various grips that I have, I haven't really even transcribed a lot of these players. Like I've transcribed some Mark Nightingale, I've transcribed Carl Fontana, John Allred, but I've never transcribed Conrad or Frank. I've practiced Frank Rossellino solos, I've practiced transcriptions, but I've never transcribed by myself. And on the other hand, the one that's not on here, a few J.J. Johnson, Slide Hampton, and I probably must have transcribed at least, 15 J.J. Johnson solos, but his grip isn't one that really, that I really think about. That's made it into my playing for whatever the reason might be, because I've transcribed more of his solos than actually anybody else that's on here. And some of these, I can just picture the player, whether it's Conrad Herberg or Andy Martin, I can picture him playing, and their lines for me are really related to how they hold their slide. And I'll sometimes catch myself. I try to be consistent. If I'm using one grip, I have switched. Currently I've been messing around using the kind of Jack Teagarden, Paul McKee grip, and there's things that I like about that. And I've used the Andy Martin grip, and sometimes on a performance I'll find myself switching without noticing. I'm playing whether it's a written line or even sometimes before a solo, my hand will just do something else. I don't know if it's my brain's thinking is like, the solo you're going to play is going to be kind of this style or that style, so my hand just naturally goes to whatever place that might be. And the other part about it too is if I find myself stuck practicing, and maybe I just want to vary something that I'm doing, or try to get myself in a different space, I'll purposefully switch my grip just to, maybe try to get a little bit of a different line, or, seeing what else might happen, because it is very physical, just like anything else. So, and we're even just talking about the slide grip. We're not even talking about the left hand, how you're holding your, the actual trombone, like where everything happens here, if there's any tension, because the grip here has a little bit to do with it as well. But for me, it's it's just an interesting topic to kind of mess around with various grips. And as the short video that's going to follow, it's not really meant as a video to show that I can play like Conrad, I can do, because that's not really, because I've never really transcribed Conrad, but I've seen him play a lot, and his grip has a sort of fluidity to it that Frank's doesn't, or John Allred's doesn't. It's a little bit of different way. I can hear the language, at least the spirit of the language, in each one of those. So, I'm kind of curious to, what you think about the video. It's just going to be like a short demonstration of the different grips. You'll be able to see the picture on my stand, and I think as I'm looking at it down here, I switched the Frank Rossellino and the John Allred for some reason. I was just playing through, and I think I went to John Allred first and then Frank Rossellino. But in any case, I would encourage you to spend some time, checking that part of it out, especially if you're transcribing a specific solo. I would take the time, if it's Carl Fontana, whoever it might be, J.J. Johnson, Slide Hampton, Frank Rossellino, try to hold the instrument the same way that they do. And I think that's going to go, kind of the next step into being able to perform that solo as close to the way that they're doing it as you can.